In the top three series of NASCAR, there's a nearly combined 100 races run a year. But some are just run of the mill or ones fans don't like. But today we're going to talk about the 10 that we're all looking forward to. My 10 most anticipated NASCAR races of 2025. At number 10, I'll take the first race of the year, Bowman Gray with the Clash. I know a lot of people have pushed back on this, saying that this is a step backwards for NASCAR, and frankly, I think they should buzz off a bit with that. This is basically the same track as the Los Angeles Coliseum. It's an old school, quarter-mile track, the Madhouse. It's just a different setting and location. And it's clear that this is a placeholder, probably meant to at least make people happy that they don't have to travel far from the shop to be able to race. At least that's what I would think. It's a hometown crowd for NASCAR. It kicks off the season, and having it be a bit of a throwback in that way, I think is something really fun that'll make 2025 unique from the get-go. So I'm looking forward to this race. Ninth is the Rockingham Xfinity race, and I could have combined the Xfinity and truck races in general. It's just having the rock back that's the big part. And it's the first time since 2013, when the trucks raced there the last time, and having Kyle Larson win it, that NASCAR is back here. And it's the highest caliber race when it comes to series at Rockingham since the last Cup race there in 2004 that ended in that beautiful photo finish between Matt Kenseth and Casey Kane. It's also the lone weekend all year that Xfinity Series will be the headliner on Easter weekend, as the Cup Series has its lone off weekend that week. It's a driver's racetrack. It's an old school racetrack. It's another hometown one for a lot of the folks in NASCAR, and I'm very excited for this one as well. Taking a step back in the right way, in my opinion, when it comes to where we're racing. Eighth is the race in Mexico City, the first international points race for the Cup Series since 1958 in Canada, which was won by Lee Petty. It also is the first Cup race in general that's an international race since the exhibition race in Japan in 1998. Racing in Mexico in the late 2000s with the Xfinity Series, this track in general has changed a lot, but it did offer, back in its old configuration, some pretty good racing, all things considered. To me, this feels like a big step in what seems like a very new and concentrated effort for NASCAR to become one of the next huge international leagues to come out of America, similar to what the NBA and NFL have done, as well as what F1 has done for the longest time. I'm really excited for this one, and I think that having one of these countries that's bordering America, like Mexico, or which I think should come soon with Canada, is the right way to go about it. There's a lot of NASCAR fans in both Canada and Mexico, and I think growing those bases will be huge when it comes to having NASCAR survive into the future. In seventh, I'm putting the Atlanta night race. Now, I could have put the second race of the year at Atlanta. After all, that's where we got that badass three-wide finish last year. But I think that this one is just a step above it when it comes to how much I'm looking forward to it and how much many fans are as well. It's one of only 3 Saturday night races in 2025. It's the first one of the year, and after that, you just got Daytona and the Bristol night race. It's also the return of TNT, which I know a lot of fans are looking forward to as well. And it's also, when it comes to night races, has a bit of history built up already, as the 2023 night race there in the summer had a ton of great energy and aura to it, and unfortunately it was cut short due to rain, but hopefully it won't happen this time because Atlanta's been a hit so far with those reconfiguration. In sixth is the Southern 500. The regular season cutoff thriller in 2024 was amazing, but it's back as the playoff opener, and in all honesty, I gotta say, Darlington has not had a bad race in the next-gen era. It's had issues at times when it comes to maybe the aero blocking and different stuff with that, but in general, it's been really, really fun at this track. And while it's a playoff race, it does feel like this is a race where drivers put the championship second for a night and go for the win. In my opinion, this is the healthiest and strongest of the crown jewels right now. It doesn't have the questions surrounding it the way that Daytona or the 600 does, and it doesn't have the fact that NASCAR left it like the Brickyard does. To me, this is a really, really, really great race every year. I love how long the race is because the racing and strategy throughout it never seems to die down. Entering the top 5, I'm going with Coke Zero. The Summer Daytona race for me is the true cutoff race at this point. I think we have almost an entire generation of fans that are going to grow up with this race being at this spot. And to be fair, this race has been wild since moving onto this spot in the schedule in 2020. And for many, it's rejuvenated their love for the race. It always has crazy moments. It's a super speedway after all. And this race to me is like a checkered flag on the summer. For me as a kid, the Bristol night race always was, because this is where it was on the schedule date-wise during the year, but now Daytona is. And with this, the last 5 races have had such a different amount of winners too that you never know who it could be. Byron got his first win here. Then Ryan Blaney got his second win in a row in 2021 here. Austin Dillon came out of nowhere after a crash to win. Chris Buescher won in 2023, and Harrison Burton came out of nowhere in 2024. It has everything you would want from a playoff cut race, as well as everything you want just as a diehard NASCAR fan. In fourth, I have the Kansas Spring Race, and really it could be either of the Kansas races as it's the best track in NASCAR right now. And I got a little flack for putting this race and this track on my list last year. People were saying that I just didn't know what I was talking about, and I was a homer because I always go to this track. Well, after last year's goated finish, the closest cup finish ever, I have to ask, do you still feel that way about this track? About how great the racing has been literally with the next gen the entire time? It's not had one bad race at this track. I mean, just look at the spring race in general the last 3 years. Kurt Busch's final win after a pretty darn good race overall. Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Larson at the end, as well as a fight after the race. And of course, that finish I talked about before. That's just the spring race, which seems to have the most fireworks. In general, this track is perfect with this car, and I look forward to it a month in advance every time I see it coming up on the schedule. Now jumping up on the podium at the bronze, it's the Coca-Cola 600. This race needs redemption for 2024's rainout. It had great races in 2023 and especially 2022, and I think I have the same point about intermediate track racing in general as I did with Kansas Speedway. Plus, you have Kyle Larson doing the second attempt at the double, and this is going to be the biggest storyline in May when it comes to motorsports, and in my opinion, the biggest storyline in May when it comes to all of sports. Kyle Larson doing this is going to put the Coke 600 on a big stage for all motorsports fans, and with it being the opening race for Prime, as long as it doesn't rain, we should be good to go and have another banger. Plus, I gotta say this, one bad race, one bad experience that last year had does not ruin this race and shouldn't ruin people's perception of how good it's going to be this year. Now taking the silver, I'm going to take the biggest race, the Daytona 500. Listen, the Daytona 500 might not have the aura that it had in the 2000s or the amazing commentary or any of those things that we look at with our member berries and nostalgia, but also it still gets me excited. It's the first big race of the year. You have the history of the Daytona 500. The super speedway racing in general has actually been improving with the next-gen car. Still has a ways to go, but I think that they can improve it. And the field is looking to be pretty damn stacked heading into this race, just like last year's, which means that Speed Weeks is going to have a lot of fun, especially with the duels and the lead-up in general. Listen, I know it might not be the same as when a lot of people were kids or when we were younger, but the Daytona 500 is still the Daytona 500, and goddamn, I'm still going to be excited about it. And then, at number 1, taking the gold, it's the Martinsville Fall Race, the penultimate race of the season. The race that has everything the finale doesn't because it's at Phoenix. You have great moments, for instance. Just look at the last 3 years with the next gen. 2024, you have all those crazy moments and good racing throughout, and then you have, again, the controversy, but in general, the race for the win was really damn fun between 3 of the young stars of the sport that everyone could be rooting for. You had the Blaney walk-off win in 2023, and in 2022, you have the damn Hail Melon. Yeah, it has been 3 years since that happened as of this race, and it still does not seem to set in with me that it's been that long. But the thing is, Goodyear has seemed to have found a better tire balance, and the racing, because of it, has improved immensely, especially the last race we had here, which gives me real hope. The last race that we had at Martinsville, I genuinely said out loud to myself, man, it feels like I'm watching a Martinsville race, which I had not said in 3 years, and I had been to next-gen Martinsville races, I'll let you know that too, but I had not said that in 3 years since I had been at the track in 2021 when Alex Bowman and Denny Hamlin went at it. So yeah, I have no reason to think that we won't have a great race in 2025 with the stakes the way they are, with the racing improving the way it is, and the fact that this is the oldest track on the schedule. It's gonna have to deliver because it always needs to deliver. And other than maybe 2 or 3 years here, it has delivered since the start of this sport. So there you go. Those are my 10 races, my list of the races I'm most pumped for. Completely biased, I get it. Now I want to hear your bias. Let me know down in the comments below, what races are you most pumped up for? Or are you just not pumped up at all? Is the bad taste of last year still kind of in your mouth? Whatever it might be, let me know. Let everyone know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.